Definitely one of the values of this organizer is creativity. I have seen some bad risk management, like not considering the fog, and we saw in the morning, or not considering the slides, but they were creative all the time. They created a new talk with someone else, took this break for us, and so on. So definitely creativity is a value. And by the way, talking about values, I remember a short story that someone told me recently about an airline company in UK. And they said that one of the values that they consider when they hire their staff, their crew, is to have the sense of humor. This is tested in the interviews and is a basic criteria for everyone to be hired in that small company airline. And what happened during a flight was that the crew had a flight over the ocean. And the steward said something like, you know, the usual story that we are all bored to see all the time about safety. And they said, and you all remember that we are going to cross the ocean. So for the eventuality that we will fall in the sea, we prepared for you some candies. And for all of you, we prepared some hot drinks and some whiskey, so you will not catch a cold in the boat while someone eventually will save you. And there was this lady, senior lady, that wrote a letter to the chief executive officer complaining about incredible way of keeping with the health and with the ISO, don't know what ISO and so on. And now the board said, what we are going to do? This is one of the values of us. And if I would be the CEO, I would write a letter to that lady telling something like, we are apologize for that, we will give you a bonus for your next flight, here is some bonus points for buying something while you travel again with us, maybe a free ticket and so on. So we'll fix everything that we have a happy client. But this CEO wrote this simple letter to the lady. Dear lady, next time we will miss you. And that's about considering your values. But I warn you that, I warn you this morning that this will not be a speak about learning, because learning at this hour, it's it's 4 o'clock, it's Saturday, you learn a lot, we learn a lot here. Now it's very important to be warned that usually such a conference is called a ship dip. A ship dip is when you put the ship in a big dip, and the ship is clean, and then goes Monday morning together with the other ships. And what will happen? She will get, again, full of parasites and things like that. So just pay attention when you go back in your company to just starting to apply things that you learn here. Otherwise it's a ship dip. Your manager will send you to other ship dips, and you will continue to just have bathrooms without any effect. So, again, a warning. I'm tired of this word, warning. This presentation is just full of warnings. But I know you are programmers, and it is said that one of the programmers that was a smoker went to the doctor. And he said to the doctor, I have some healthy problems. What is your advice? And the doctor said, you idiot, you have healthy problems. Look at this packet of cigarettes. What is written here? Warning, the smoke can, blah, 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 warning. Don't you see? A lot of warnings. And the developer, the senior developer said, hey doc, I'm a developer, I do apologize, but I'm used to only read errors, not warnings. So that's about this presentation. I will tell you these warnings, but they are not errors, so you can live with them, or you can just adequate and see what you need to transform in your lives. So please just look at this without thinking about the others, like my colleague, my manager, the company where I work, and things like that. Just try for 30 minutes to not learn anything, but just retrospect, analyze your professional life, and see if all these warnings and traps may apply or not for your career. And if they don't not apply for your career, I'm sure you are a senior programmer in this moment. Doesn't matter if you just started to work, I mean 1 year, 2 years, or have 10 years of development. I don't want to argue about that, but as you will see, I've seen so many times, moments when great seniors were not even able to code, and other moments when so-called juniors grew in a year like the Okay, so why I talk about seniors? I'm passionate a little bit about statistics, and during my last 7 years of interviewing developers, I gathered some statistics about how the interviews are going. And one statistic that scares me is this one. This is candidates failing to code a simple algorithm. In my statistic, seniors were those that were not able to code the most. And the problem was usually a simple one, like we have an array of 100 bytes or something. We have an array of 100 integers, and in that array we need to physically allocate 3 subarrays, and in those 3 subarrays consider them to be stacks, and implement the usual stack methods on those arrays, like pop and push. And eventually, write some unit tests and prove me that you cover all the edge conditions. And this is the result. Not sure if it's surprising for you, I don't want to comment it, but this is the result. Another one, candidates failing to present a cutting-edge alternatives to a solution. Again, the seniors were those that, in the majority of these categories, were not able to present like cutting-edge alternative, like a last technology, a last thing, something to prove me that they are reading. This one is another one, candidates that I had the feeling, this is subjective, I had the feeling that they try to hide the fact that they don't have an immediate answer. And again, sorry, seniors are king here, in my statistics. And the last one, candidates failing to identify non-functional requirements. Unfortunately, we, the seniors, are great here. So at least when we talk about experience, we are great. So these are reasons to think about why in some scenarios senior developers are not that great as it should be. And I only presented statistics related to strictly coding things, not to other elements. So the presentations is about traps. And yeah, someone told me, I know who's the mouse there. It's obvious, it's the senior, but who's the cheese? And the only answer that I was able to tell him was, now you need to think who's the cheese, because for me the cheese is one thing, and for you the cheese is probably different. So please think, when we will talk about these traps, what is your cheese in your current context, and not the cheese of the other one. And the first one is, the first trap is not spending time with yourself. Not spending time with yourself is when you don't think too much about you. You don't think about your feelings, you try to ignore your interior voices that tell you that something is not okay with your career, maybe with your project, maybe with your family, with anything. And you are just you are just busy every day and every moment, and don't reserve that specific moment in time to think about you, to think about your professional life, to think where I am in this moment and what I need to do. And, well, some solutions. For each trap I will present some solutions, but again, this is only to stimulate you to think if you fall or not in this trap. And one of the solutions is to think about personalities. Because if you are a realistic person, you will act every day in a given moment, in such a way that is specific to you. If you are a conventional person, you will act differently. And the way you will perceive others will be definitely based on how you are. I'm a realistic person. So probably if I need to deal with a social guy, with you, that you are a social guy, I will find it difficult to maybe to hire you or maybe to just work with you every day because our personalities are different. And if I don't realize that, you will judge me as that boring programmer that never socializes. Because the personality is different. So it's good to analyze how we are. The second one is that, I'm sure you all know that SWOT diagram. It's about strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And this is very important to continue to do that SWOT diagram like on a monthly basis or something. To continue to consider what are your strengths, what are your weaknesses, how your current weaknesses can be eventually transformed in opportunities. For instance, if you just need to fix a poor problem and you never touch poor, that is weaknesses for you. But you can transform that in an opportunity. Finally, I have the opportunity to touch some purple. Otherwise, I talk about me. I will never touch a pearl hook if not, I will not have the opportunity because I don't think that is important for me. But if you find, sometimes you find that a weakness that can be transformed in an opportunity because you need to do that. And another thing that you need to consider, and there are tests on the internet that are talking about this thing, is the DISC profile. So some persons are dominant because they grew in a different environment, because of the genes, because of different areas, different things. Others are influenced, like optimists, ongoing, the guys that are always passionate to talk with you, to influence you, and so on. Others are just steadiness or compliant. In general, the majority of the developers that I work with are, what do you think? Compliant, and 80% of QAs are compliant. And this is good, I'm not saying it's not good. In general, dominant persons are those that will climb the career ladder and eventually will become, will arrive in upper management, or they will start their companies and so on. That's how it is. Another track, missing the big picture of your professional life. Well, this is tricky because doesn't say too much words about what are the missing pieces. So I will present you a scenario. Usually we do actions in the office. So we do that task, and do that task, and do that task, and those are actions. And if we think how those actions are structured, we will find a pattern. And the pattern, or a category of the actions, are probably like this. Daily tactics, like we do pair programming for something, we revisit the metrics, we check engineering practices, we restructure the team. These are all tactics, and we do those tactics because in our team we agreed on those, hopefully. While we continue to do daily actions, we notice some categories of tactics, like inspect and adapt, lean, non-prescribed processes, things like that. And we find that those are like long-term things that we do in order to deliver. And we used to call that a strategy. And in order to implement a strategy, we found that eventually the manager set for us something like an objective. By December, you need to do that and that and that, or eventually our team discussed about that and set it as an objective. But from this level up, in general, for us as seniors, it's not very clear all the time, the big picture. So, we know that there are some goals, but what the heck are those goals? Some blah blah, usually with the deadline. That's the goal. And above the goals, maybe the upper management talks about these strange things like vision and mission, that is just blah, 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 so we never know what is our mission, what is our vision. Or maybe we are in a company that says our vision is to make employees happy and hire the best things and things like that. And when you talk with the employee in that company, he will ask you, do you have a job in your company? So you think, what the heck is that vision? So that's the world we live. That's the world we live. So what I found here useful is to, at least for our professional life, to start in the contrary order. So, I will present you how I see this. My vision is this. I dream to bring value to every place where I work in such a way that I also benefit from that value. So it's not for the company, it's also for me. Now, this is a vision, it's a dream. But in order to structure that dream, I need a mission. So I need something to anchor in the present. And in the present, I bring value by developing people, but applying what I know and continuously learning things and questioning my practices. This is something more clear if you apply for your professional life. So think about a vision, something that you dream. And think about how you apply that specific dream that you dream today. And that is your mission. And because the mission is still too abstract, you need some goals. And what are the goals? Just a vision with deadlines. So you put a deadline and the vision becomes a goal. And you need objectives, so you need to start to measure things. And these are objectives. Blah, 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 for that December date, I will improve that, as measured by. This is very important. You probably all heard about the SMART objectives. So putting the deadline to your objective, determine how you will measure that, making sure that it's achievable, and so on. And at the end, you arrive to a strategy, and to a tactic, and finally, you have actions. Now, everything is more clear because you know why you have those actions, you know how your career will look like, you know what is your mission, why are you doing things that you are doing, and in general, I found that when it's very clear why you are doing something, you are doing that thing with much more pleasure, and you have a sense of belonging belongings for that thing that you are doing. Another trap is not questioning your journey. And when I said this, I was thinking about different ways of questioning our journey. Like, are we in the right company? Are we in the right team? Are we doing the things that we love to do? What are the impediments in our current situation? So I found it useful from time to time to think about my journey and think how I travel in this. The life is so short, so why bother to spend my journey in the wrong place? And there are some solutions for this. One of these is the Dreyfus model of skill acquisition. And this model of skill acquisition tells me that in order to master a skill, to be expert in something, I need to spend around 10 years of working in that thing in order to become an expert. Others are saying 10,000 hours. Probably it's more or less the same thing. And this Dreyfus model that we, for instance, we try to apply in our company a little bit, tells me that at the very beginning, when I try to work with the technology or something, I'm just a novice. So I need recites. Later on, I will need the control environment. Then I will need a real-time exposure. I will need some big pictures if I'm proficient. And at the end, I will need the expert. Now, the problem that I see in this thing, and I see that is not applied so much in the companies, is that, for instance, we took an expert, if we have an expert in our company, and we ask him to just, look, follow some recites. And that expert will die there because it's not his natural way of working. He needs to do that, to favor his intuition, to favor his creativity. So if you are an expert in something, and some of you are above 30 years, so probably are already an expert in something, just make sure that this one is understood by who needs to be understood. And again, if you are proficient, you will need a big picture. If my manager will tell me, just do that because we need to deliver, I will do that once or twice. But later on, if I don't see the big picture, it's obvious I will get demotivated. And another model is very similar to this, is this one. Probably you all know this model if you attended other Agile conferences. It's about apprentice, journeyman, and master. It's the same thing. You need to learn from something. You need to then to travel in skill acquisition and later on to be a master. And the same thing is told by Peter Norvig. He said there are many books that are saying teach yourself programming in 24 hours or something like that. I propose teach yourself programming in 10 years. Another track, not understanding generations. And this is a curious thing. So I remember my boss several years ago when he told me something like, we need to increase the productivity. Productivity is definitely not good in our company. So what you are going to do? And I tell him probably that and that and that. And he said, well, you are just an idiot. I don't know why I promoted you. This is not increasing productivity. This is just favoring people, and they eventually will grow, will mature, and anyway they will leave because of that and that and that. So look at me what you need to do. You need these clocks that are used for chess, for playing chess. And you need to put a clock for each employee. And that was trained by my manager when I used to work in the 16. And when that one needs to go to the bathroom, he will play the button. And when he needs to smoke, he will play the button, and so on. So at the end, you will see that programmer missed 3 hours and that one only 1 hour. And you will see a trend, and if the trend is the same, you have a problem with that developer. So tell me and I will fire him. Well, we are tempted to judge bad such an idea, but that was a generation, like the 60s, that became like that. A solution. We have those that are born in the 70s are the X generations. Other more recently are the Y generations, and others later on are the Z generations. So we will work with the Z generations more and more. And the Z generation, I wrote some notes here because it's very curious. The Z generations are passionate about technology. They are passionate about materialism. They are very materialistic compared to us. They care about their happiness more than we care. And it is said that in the United States, they no longer give an F for failure, but an E for effort. So that tells you a lot about the profile of the new generation that you as seniors or managers will need to work with. So I leave it to you with this idea about how you are going to manage or work with the new generation. And remember just the word, they will also have short attention spans. If you started to work with high school students or students, you will notice that short attention span. So if you tell him, let's read this book together and we will meet there and read that and that and that, probably he will tell you, give me a link or something, just to see quick, or let's write a code together and teach me about that. He will not have attention to read like a visual C# book like that. He will never do that. So that will tell you something about how you need to work with that generation. Career switches. This is an example of my career switch. And you will need to give me some bonus because of that. Thank you. So career switch is I see it as a risk and as a trap if it's not driven by you, but it's driven by the company. So if it's driven by you, if on a given moment you feel that your career should no longer belong in development, but maybe in a different area, that's fine. But if it's driven by the company, you will be just a jack of all, doing all sorts of tasks, and no one guarantees you that you will do that better and better. This is an example of my career. So I was a kind of lead or maybe a poor senior, and when I arrived in that moment, it was necessary, this time was necessary, so I didn't choose, to be a project manager, a junior project manager, if I was a senior developer, because you need to start a new thing. So you need to learn new things, and no one guarantees you that a great developer will be a great project manager. And at a certain moment I said, maybe project management is not that great for me, but I had the opportunity to start working as a development manager. And finally I found something that I like. So what I want to say from this trap is just think if in this moment you are where you want to be, and think where you want to be in the next 10 years. Some solutions, some patterns. If you are a great coder, that's the biggest mistake of your life, to leave the code to do something else. The biggest one. There are not so many people that are great at writing code. So the opportunity is to just develop yourself in such a way that you will not have, let's say, financial demotivations because you are not promoted to management or to project management. So if you can find that company and that culture or self-employment that guarantees you a great financial stability, my advice is to just continue as a developer. Others want to specialize in a niche, and this is my feeling is that for the money, because if you work in a niche, you will be able to deliver in that niche, and maybe a company from Russia will need you for that thing, and the company from Belgium will need you for that thing. So especially if you are self-employed, this is excellent. You can be a generalist, like a jack of all. I know Mihai do that, Mihai do that, Mihai do that, Mihai do that. So I will do anything, but I'm not an expert in anything. But this gives me stability and the possibility to move from a company to another company. What I found useful is that thing that we are trying to implement called specialist generalist. Was promoted also by Martin Fowlers and others. And that is, try to become a specialist in 1 or 2 or 3 key areas and develop your generalist skill in as much as possible things. And this will give your company the possibility to work like in a lean approach, because, for instance, if you are a specialist in, I don't know, performance testing, and there's no performance testing in this moment for you, you can do other different things. Otherwise, it's just, you'll just stay and do performance testing on Facebook or something. So, another career path is for being promoted to a project manager. And this is, in general, good if you are passionate about processes and you don't want to write too much code in the future. You want a different life, maybe full of opportunities, but not full of code. I found it useful for others to move in a product area. Like, if I have vision for products and I feel the products and I feel I have ideas in the products and how to promote the products, what are the features that are requested for the product and so on, is that one. Engineering manager for people that love both people and technology, or upper management if you love politics and have vision. Or consultant if you want, let's say, freedom. If you want freedom, probably that one is good. The comfort zone, the comfort zone is, we all fall in that trap, but in general we don't want to recognize that. So I read a lot and try to practice a lot in the theology field. I'm passionate about spirituality, about, I'm a believer, a Christian believer. And I remember the early church has this habit of telling our problems between us. I tell you my problem, you tell me my problem, we try to help each other, we pray, we continue. The church evolved in such a way that the priest took this role. I'm telling to the priest, he's telling me a standard thing, we move on. In the companies, I'm telling to a manager my problems, he is telling me a standard thing, called 111, blah, 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 and we move on. I don't think this is great. I think it's great if me and you develop a professional relation in such a way that we are able to give us honest feedback. Because I work with you every day and with you, not with my manager. He will tell me just the standard thing. And maybe if he cares about the company, he will tell me more. But in general, it's just blah, blah. So, a solution. We need to face our fears, to take risks, to explore new worlds, and to remember our personality traits. Procrastination is when we postpone things. No? So we are distracted, and we already talked about this. You remember to kill distractions. I recommend the same thing, Pomodoro. I apply it every day for me. And the tricks here is when you are a manager to just give responsibility to people, not tasks. And if you give responsibility to people, you put your career to guarantee for them. So if they fail, you are fired. But in that way, I think is the only way to grow in your company leaders. Otherwise, you just grow followers. So if you are senior, remember this. If you will just give tasks to the people, they will be your followers, but they will not become leaders. And I remember many years spent without any results in my career because all that my manager gave me were tasks. So I was just a follower. And when I discovered that, I said, ooh, so many years lost for nothing. Lack of creativity and innovation. Yeah, 1 minute, so 10, thanks. Solution to the lack of creativity is asking all the time, what if, what if, what if? Try new things, imagine new things. You will see these new generations. They are imagine a lot of things. I'm too old, I need to recognize, to imagine different things that a student will find like that. So I think this is a dream for all of us and a trend for all of us as seniors to imagine, to try new things, to behave like a child, to be curious, to question all we know, to question our best practices. As a senior, I'm tempted to say, if you ask me, well, we need to do that. I'm tempted to say, yeah, in our company we do it like that, look at the code there, talk with that guy, and it's a problem, and I'm happy. But I'm not tempted to question that thing. And I'm not tempted to say, I do it like that all the time. What if this time I will do it different? What is the worst thing that can happen if this time I want to do it different? I'm not a creative person, so this is one of my biggest traps. I don't know for you, but this is one of my biggest traps. Look, that is a good example. I'm not sure if this guy really wrote this thing, so I just took it and put it here. Probably I'm wrong. I will need to check. Saying yes all the time. I do recognize in that. I don't know about you, but there are many times where I'm saying yes to everything. Oh, will we take that project? Yes. Do you think you can do that with 3 people? Yes. I'll find a way. I'm a results-driven person. Sure I do. I'm a senior, and so on. And well, usually I'm that person there. So others are doing the job. So anyway, but saying yes all the time, it's not great. It's not great. You all know that. A solution is, I don't want to insist on that. We have great trainers on lean development, Agile. Is just to dare to question the value of what you will deliver, to think business, to know your domain, to keep quality in mind all the time. Okay. This is a true reality in our professional life. I'm a senior and I work with you, and I work with you. And if I tell you too much things, or I spend with you too much time, you will be a threat for me. So this relation is going to kill me. You got it? So I don't realize that if I do not spend time with you, I'm not going to retire from this company. So the fact that I don't give you all I know with all my heart, and trying to learn from you, from your creativity, from your innovation, from your openness to new technologies that probably is greater than mine, if I don't pair with you, I'm talking with you all the time, in a day I will need anyway to leave the company and go for an interview. And when I go to do an interview, oh my God, what they will find about me. So it's a blessing if we have juniors to work with. And it's a blessing if our managers give us interns and juniors to work with. Prove your skills working with them. Technical skills, soft skills, everything. It's a blessing. A solution. Delegate authority, not tasks. I already said that. Help them grow or watch them grow. If I don't work with you, someone else will work with you in a different company. Again, probably it's fine for me if I care for my seat, but that's not scalability. You all know that. I like to believe that I only develop constraints, but let different teams to create different rules because every project is different. On paper, we all said that. In practice, not sure if all the time. I like to let the people fail, and sometimes I have big problems for that. But again, if you don't let your people to fail, you will just develop followers. Your people will believe this senior is not caring about us, doesn't care about. I don't know why he's doing all that day, because he's not caring about us. But if you don't let them fail and you don't delegate full authority to a mid or to a junior that you work with, he will just be a follower. Anticipating things, not reacting to things. How many times we just react to things? That thing happened, what we are going to do? Happened that one, what we are going to do? We have solutions, we are good at having solutions for everything, eventually creative solutions. But anticipating things, thinking a little bit in the future. Yeah, and the last thing is never give up. Yeah, you remember that. So I want to leave you with this thing. The most important thing is to not stop questioning. Be curious, let's be curious, all of us. And guys, it's a great blessing we have international speakers, and it's a great pleasure that they come to Romania. But let's try to enforce our community. Let's not be just consumers. Let's all be united in such a way that we develop speakers from our community. Because I know each of you that are here have the potential and capability to give to the others what you know. I lived many years in Italy, so my English, you know, this is not that great. In Italian probably will be better, but again, let's try to. That's my vision. That's my vision. I dream a day when this conference will only have local speakers, but not because I'm nationalist, because that will give Cluj the opportunity to grow, to develop, to make some noise in the community, so others will come. Your checklist, you will have these slides available. This is a checklist that I suggest to look at it, and thank you for your patience. Thank you.